Hello guys, welcome back to Grindhouse. And this, like I said, I was going to cancel Grindhouse, but I want to make this episode. This episode's not going to be like any other Grindhouse episode that's on my channel. Because this episode's not about a movie or TV show. It's actually about a old Disney ride. I thought, hey, I'm going to be going to Disney very soon. I want to make a special Grindhouse episode about it. It's about an old Disney ride that was canceled, but I think it was really smart. I think it was a really smart ride, but of course, it was aimed for an older audience, not a younger one. That's why it didn't just get canceled. It also it was torn. It was gone. They got rid of it mostly. They shut it down, and it's not there no more. You cannot find it anymore. But there's still merchandise on the internet, eBay, and everything you could find. So, yeah. So let's talk about it. Most of this episode's gonna be in voiceovers. This should be like a Dark World podcast, but I thought, you know what? Nah, because I don't want to make another unofficial episode of Dark World podcast. I want to do the next episode of Dark World podcast with Christian, so I don't want to do an unofficial episode. Anyway, let's talk about a really cool ride that was ultimately torn down from Disney. It was shut down, and of course, no remains of the building. Actually, you know what? That's a lie. There are remains of the building, but it's a different ride, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about what was called Alien Encounter. So, Alien Encounter was a Buzz Lightyear Toy Story style ride. If you've been to Disneyland, you know what those rides are, where you go on a moving cart, as I'm going to call it, a moving cart. You get these little fake guns, and you have to shoot things. Okay. It's like a game / ride. Everyone should know what. If you've been to Disney or you're a big fan of Disney, you would know about these rides. So it was a style of that type of ride. And what it was it was a ride. Get this. This is a really bold move for Disney. It was a ride based entirely on Ridley Scott's and James Cameron's Alien franchise. It was a haunted house style, one of these game-like rides based on the Alien franchise. Get that. An Alien-themed ride at Disneyland, of all places. So anyway, what you would do is you would get in the cart, you would move around, and you would be part of the Marine Corps, which is the Marines from the Alien movies. Anyway, you'd be part of the Marine Corps, and you would get these little fake guns. And what would happen is that it would be all dark, all the sounds from the movies would be there, and xenomorphs, actual animatronic xenomorphs, would jump out at you, and you would have to shoot them. It would be your job to shoot them, but there'd be multiple jump scares, and it would be, again, it's dark, and yeah, it's mostly, well, at least what I heard, or I read, it's mostly a very terrifying experience. It was a lot of people were like, this is awesome, this is exciting, oh, this is one of the coolest rides. Of course, then the parents started complaining, of course, they started to complain. And then, George Lucas and James Cameron were just thinking, you know what? Maybe doing an alien-based ride was a bad idea. So they shut it down. But they used the building for something else. Something else that was possibly far more terrifying than the ride, than Alien Encounter. So, James Cameron left the entire crew, the entire design crew, and now it's just George Lucas. And George Lucas and the many CEOs of Disney at the time, this was the 80s and 90s, just remember that. But anyway, the many CEOs at the time of Disney were just like, what should we do? So they were like, we're going to do a show. We're going to get rid of the ride, but we're going to keep the building and keep the name. And instead of a ride, we're going to do this little show called the Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter. And the show was more like a haunted house than an actual show you can find at Disney. So the story behind the show is that you're gonna be the first members to test out this system of tubes where you can transport yourself from Earth to space and all that other stuff. And a creature, this alien monster, is actually transported Earth and gets loose into the audience. And what happens is that the audience is then treated to many, many scenes that should belong in a Halloween haunted house. Like feeling the alien breathe moist, cold air on their necks, and even getting the feeling that they're being licked on their necks. And then it is supposedly that the alien creature killed a CEO on camera, and the CEO's warm blood sprinkles on top of the audience. And then after some time of being scared, the alien is supposedly captured and sent back. But in an alternate ending, the alien is captured, but then explodes, and this green goo fake blood sprays all over the audience, especially in the front row. And while many of the older audience and teenagers, people my age, praise the ride for being horrifying, awesome at the same time, parents, of course, decided this ride is too scary for children, especially parents that totally ignored the giant warning sign that was in front of the entrance. There was literally a giant warning sign that looks like this that was in front of the entrance, telling the audience, the audience, what to expect. And most parents, I guess, just totally ignored it and just let their children go into the ride, and that's what made this entire mess. So mostly CEOs were like, oh, okay, so maybe it was a little too extreme. And just like with Alien Encounter, they decided to shut it down. And then they kept the building for something else. A ride that's now open today a show that's now available today called Stitch's Great Escape, which is a show based on the movie Lilo and Stitch. And it's a less scary version of what the Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter show was like. But I gotta say, the Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter show was pretty smart. Something I think a lot of what we call creepy movies that were meant for kids. I think I covered a lot of them in a past Grindhouse episode before, but what we call a lot of those movies, what I think is the smartest thing that any of those too scary for kid movies or stuff do that's really smart is that they always open on something that makes you comfortable, makes you feel like you're gonna witness something very family friendly and very nice and comfortable. And then they throw in the scares and with the creepy stuff and all that stuff they throw in. And I think that's really smart. Make the audience feel like they're comfortable. They're in for a really fun little adventure. Instead, they get tossed into like a haunted house. That's what I think is one of the smartest moves this ride did, because what the show, I shouldn't even say ride, I should say show. What it did is that it had a pre-show, and then the pre-show was like, it was amusing, it was entertaining, it was giving some backstory to what the ride was, what the show was, and like the story behind the show. It was giving backstory while providing a very entertaining and very funny and family-friendly little show. And then after that pre-show, that's when the scares happen. Like, that's when the supposed alien creature is accidentally teleported, and that's when all the haunted house themed Halloween stuff happens. So I think it was really smart of designers to even do like a family-friendly segment before the horror like happens. I think that is one of the most smartest things that this ride and any like movie that's gonna be like too creepy for kids does. They do this. They throw in a family-friendly segment to start the entire events off, and then the rest of the events are like something from a horror movie. And that's why I think this ride did so well. It did that event so well. The opening pre-show was done right. It was made to make you feel comfortable, make you feel like you're being witnessing a very family-friendly show. And then, boom, the unadulterated gore blood show happens after that. I think that's what it did really smart. It was really smart of them to do that. Before the show was finally shut down, the pre-show kept going through changes as one of the major actors behind one of the many characters of the pre-show, Jeffrey Jones, was arrested. And so one of the actors that was going to stay as an actor was Stephen King's It, the voice, or the guy behind Pennywise, Tim Curry. And then, of course, that ran on for some months and almost a full year until Disney CEOs started getting complaints again by angry and enraged parents, and ultimately they shut the entire thing down. They left the building, but they shut the entire thing down. The entire thing was shut down and again replaced now what is now Stitch's Great Escape. So yeah. And now you guys can actually go on eBay, and you guys can find like old merchandise of the show that's now highly like praised by collectors and everything, are highly regarded as collectibles now. And yeah, so that is it. That is it of this episode of Grindhouse. So ultimately, the ride was pretty smart. I thought it was really fun. It'd be really fun to still have it. That would be cool. But the thing is, was Disney the appropriate amusement park to have such a horrifying show / ride at? Was it the best amusement park to have it at? I think it could have been something for Universal Studios or even Six Flags. But Disney, I don't think that was really smart of Disney to do that. Like, sorry. I don't think it was smart of Disney to do that because, I mean, think about it. Disney is supposed to be very family-friendly things and like, it's supposed to be a place for families, but to have a ride based not just on horror movies, but just like, it's mostly a horror movie. Yeah, okay, never mind. Have a ride based on a horror movie? I mean, that's kind of weird. But it's also kind of weird because if you think about it, Tower of Terror is kind of based on a horror movie. I mean, Twilight Zone's kind of horror, and Tower of Terror is slightly based on said horror. It's not really a family-friendly ride, so it's like, I think they could have kept either Alien Encounter or the extraterrestrial Alien Encounter, because think about Tower of Terror. That ride is scary as hell, and yet that ride was still there until, and they didn't. No parents even complained about that ride. The only reason why it's being torn down now or shut down is because the Guardians of the Galaxy ride that's going to be there. And I personally think Disney could have kept Alien Encounter or the extraterrestrial Alien Encounter show. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think it was a good choice for Disney to put a ride like that there? And if not, do you think that there's another amusement park that ride could have easily belonged to? I'd like to know in the comments down below. And if you guys would, please give this video a giant thumbs up and hit that big red subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.